Sunny Melendrez, Sunny Radio, sunnyradio.com.
Hello, it's Sunny Melendrez, and welcome. You found it, the positive side of the radio spectrum. This is the Sunny Melendrez Show, where every week we strive to bring you entertainment and inspiration through storytelling, fascinating guests, exclusive celebrity interviews, and it's all delivered with lots of enthusiasm. Can't wait for you to meet my very special guest, Katie Chonacas. But first, I have a favor to ask. If you haven't already, take out your phone and click on your podcast icon. Got it? Now, type in Sunny Melendrez Show. That's Sunny with an O, Melendrez. There it is. Great. Now, if you would, subscribe to the show so you don't miss a single episode. And if you're so inclined, leave a 5-star review. I know that's a big favor to ask, but I would really appreciate it. We are brought to you, as always, by Ideal Precision Roofing, serving San Antonio, Boerne, and the Texas Hill Country. You know, one of the things that really impressed me early on about Ideal Precision Roofing was their commitment to detail. Every single roof they repair or replace is done with the highest quality materials available and the latest technology. It's no wonder why they are in the top 1% of roofing contractors in America as an Owens Corning Platinum Preferred contractor. So if you're looking for the best to replace your roof, repair your roof, especially if you suspect you might have hail damage from the months or maybe even years gone by, do yourself a favor, and for your own peace of mind, call the best. Ideal Precision Roofing at 210-485-1553. That's 210-485-1553. Or visit idealprecisionroofing.com and tell them that Sunny Melendrez sent you. And now, on with the show.
Sunny Radio, sunnyradio.com.
Katie Chonacas is a globally outstanding Greek-American actress with over 2 decades of experience in the entertainment industry. She began her career as a classically trained actor, model, poet, producer, painter, and philanthropist at a very early age. After dominating in modeling, appearing on television, and working with famous stars in cinema, Katie opted to pursue her love of music and landed a deal with industry superstars. She made her television debut on CBS's CSI, NY, Cold Case, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Law & Order SVU, to name a few. She's appeared in such films as A Perfect Getaway and A Port of Call, New Orleans, with Nicolas Cage. Katie also works as a professional voiceover actor, specializing in cartoon animation voices with her branded name, Cartoon Katie. She brought to life characters such as Soup from the international video game Minecraft. It is safe to say that no matter the medium, Katie Chonacas is a force to be reckoned with. It is a pleasure to welcome her to the show. Katie, welcome.
Thank you, Sunny. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to have an impactful conversation. Woohoo!
All right. Well, I'm impactful, you said? Okay. Well, I'll scratch out silly then. All right.
No, silly's good too. I like silly. Silly's cool.
I know. So we finally meet. I know this has been going back and forth. You've got a really busy schedule. You know, throughout all my journey of finding out who Katie Chonacas was and is, going to your website, you're on platforms that haven't been invented yet. That's how much you're out there. You're all over the place, which would be a good name for a podcast.
That's my podcast name. You're being silly, right?
I'm being silly.
She's all over the place. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, so here's how I would describe you to someone that didn't know who you were. You are a Renaissance woman from the future who enhances, encourages, and most of all, truly gives back to everyone she touches through her magic, through her wisdom, and through her love.
Sunny, you are really, really sunny. I have chills. I'm so in gratitude. I'm going to take that clip right there and just put it as my reel and on my tombstone one day when I pass. It'll just be your voice, if that's cool.
Is it the first time I've ever done a voiceover for a tombstone? I love it.
Well, what you said is exactly who I am and what I strive for. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful that energy is reciprocated and it really fuels my soul. And what an apropos time considering it's Love Month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I am honored. All right, so let's start out with the Katie, the 10-year-old. You grew up in Michigan, and tell me what it was like because you were kind of a little bit of a rebel from the jump, weren't you?
Oh, you're good. You really dug deep and did your research. Yeah, I always marched to the beat of my own drum. I grew up very independent because my dad's family immigrated from the old country, and they were, my mom and dad married very young. They were kids having kids, and so they were, doing the 9 to 5, the living, striving for the American dream. And so we went off to school and all those things. And then when we got home, we had the space to play around and do what we wanted. So I got into, being Greek, we got into Greek mythology and Plato and Socrates. And then I became like Socrates' spiritual younger sister, and I've like coined that. and through his literature, in his sayings, a philosopher is a person who's a seeker of wisdom. So I've always thought of myself as a philosopher. I've always wanted to be a seeker, and I always wanted to be this bird in a cage and just expand my wings, because we're all domesticated as youngsters. And so I wanted to expand my wings and see everything, the universe, and that God created, like the land, Mother Nature, the universal sound and cultures and vibrations. And growing up Greek Orthodox Christian gave me a platform and a rock as an observer, as a human, to understand that I could go to France and India and go to Dominican Republic and Bermuda and go to all these places internationally. And even though I may not understand what they're saying, I could hear the sound of the vibration and the tone of their voice, of language and the power of the word, and be able to experience culture and food unconditionally, because that was a gift that given to me. Not judging other people, but just experiencing as an observational person, which also pivots that into my life as an artist, into my career as an actor, being an observer.
The key word you said right there was, and you said it several times, was observer. And when you become an observer, all of a sudden, the wonder of life, of the universe, of a leaf, of anything that we see every day and hopefully won't take for granted, really is just magnified. And isn't it beautiful to see the world that way?
1000%. And something that you said, we as humans, we do take advantage of it, but it's okay, because when we take advantage of it, we're aware that we do. And then when we appreciate it, we know the depths of the joy and the depths of the beauty, because we've not appreciated it, right? Like Khalil Gibran, I love him. He has a poem on joy and sorrow. Like, how can you understand the joyous of the joy if you don't know the depths of one's sorrow? So like, how do you know it's the brightest rainbow you've ever saw if you haven't seen a dull rainbow? So being humans, it's okay. But how do we respond and react to that? We get up and we practice and we do it again, and we treat ourselves with kindness and say, that's okay. And then we hold our own hands along the path, and then we can hold other people's hands more gently with grace. And that comes through practice, because we're all hard on ourselves,
That's true. Without valleys, there are no peaks. So let me ask you, you had really at that early age, you had really not only a thirst for life, but you were also looking for mentors, weren't you?
Yes, 1000%. I grew up, my dad was a cross country runner, and he turned me on to cross country running. So I always had coaches, and my number one coach was my dad, is my dad, and I learned about short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. And cross country running is a collective sport, but what you do as an individual affects the whole. And so I was able to apply that to life and to the workforce, and understand on a macro level and the visionary, the overall of life and humanity, like the energetic ripple effect of all of it is attuned to the micro choices that I make, even about like what I watch, what I listen to, who I speak to, what I enrich my soul with literature, with the food that I put into my body, all of that. So I was very aware of those things at a very young age.
Now, when you were growing up, there were no podcasts, so you didn't even know what that meant. And you kind of figured your own way, and you've done that for going on 2 decades now. At what point did you know that you wanted to be in the world of entertainment, of communication, of this incredible journey of the universe that took you to all these wonderful places and these wonderful stages?
Yeah, great question. A couple brushstrokes that come to mind right now is, we have these things called VHS tapes that they made back in the day. Wonk,
Yeah.
wonk, 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 wonk. And I remember in the 80s, my mom was a singer. And so we listened to, Bangles, Bon Jovi, and the Beatles. And I had a broom and I was singing. And I thought when I reflect back on that now and I was like singing and feeling good, I thought it was like, oh, for being a singer, but it was actually my instrument, voiceover acting, singing, motivational speaker, podcaster, like all of that encapsulates that broom, right? That moment of the broom, and that I was able to shape shift into melodies and music because of my mother, right? And so that's one. And then the other thing is, I remember being 12 years old when I wrote my first piece called The Oddball, and I was the oddball. I just felt so awkward and odd. And I remember having ancient wisdom, right? And it was kind of like the crest of the moment where there was like good angel versus the demonic angel, the split, right? The split in the mind at some point that happened. So I remember having this ancient wisdom whispering in my ear and committing to myself at a young age that I'm going to follow that small voice. And those are my guides. And that's going to be leading thy way. And because I saw around me the circumstances of people being upset and, unhealthy circumstances like on the news and things like that. So I had the ancient wisdom teaching me. And I remember saying I was a seeker and I wanted someone, I was looking up to mentors and people to gift me information. And there was the blue pages. It was the yellow pages. So there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't, Google and all those things, self-publishing. Right. And so it was like I had life all figured out. And I was going to go for it. And I remember I was going to pay it forward and, do that for other people. And so that's the second thing. And lastly, I wanted to start my podcast 9 years ago, but I didn't know how to get on the train tracks. And then when I did, I wanted to be like my over 2 decades of experience in entertainment and traveling the world, but not by right and wrong or weak and strong, just based on my experience. And hey, if you listen to me in one podcast or a few podcasts, and what it took me 10 years takes you 10 days now in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to walk hands and do it together because I know how it feels to be isolated. I know how it feels with administrative stuff, with mental health challenges, of doing it all alone. And it can be so chaotic with all the social media and stuff and all who to believe and what to not believe. And so I want to be authentic as possible and utilize my voice in a way where I can pave the way for people to jump on the golden path their way, not my way, but hey, I want to gift them some like Yoshi, Super Mario Kart gems along the way, gold coins on the gold path.
Nice way of putting it. So, and what was the entry point? What got you into officially being a professional?
Professional podcaster?
Professional anything in show business.
I did local stuff back home in Michigan, and I became, I was a small fish in a small pond. I became a big fish in a big pond. And then I went to Paris first because I wanted to go to Paris. I didn't speak the language, but when I was 19, the modeling agency didn't say, oh, take 6 months to learn French. It was just all or nothing. Like I didn't know French, so I didn't go there, but I could have learned it in 6 months, if I studied it, but I didn't think that. So then I went to Toronto, and it was like legal issues of like, working there and things like of that nature. No, I went to Toronto last, but I went to New York.
And how old were you then?
19. Okay. I went to Paris, and then I went to LA and New York. And I was going to New York Fashion Week ever since I was a teenager, right?
Mm.
Amazing. And then I went to Toronto, and those are my four places that I was gonna, anchor in. And after going to all those places, by the time I was 20, I was just about to be 21, and 9/11 happened. So, but before 9/11 happened, I was in New York for Fashion Week that season. But before 9/11 happened, I already made the choice I was going to LA. Like I
Mm.
instinctually just knew, and I made the choice, and I ended up going to Los Angeles and starting my venture there, which was it was what it was. It was very, I want to say, there was resistance within because my culture is so important to me, and I just loved the Greek community, wanting to meet like more befriend more Greek people and do my path that way as a Greek person. But also 9/11 did happen, so I ended up going to Los Angeles.
And what was your first job in LA?
My first network job as an actor, or like
As
my
an actor,
first,
yes.
yeah, CSI New York with Gary Sinise and the beautiful Greek woman Melina from CSI New York as well. And working with Gary Sinise was amazing. Like I saw Forrest Gump, and he was great. But he gave me one of the best compliments of my whole entire career. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. When we're doing these takes together, they do wide, medium, reversing the camera. And
Right.
we were there for hours together. And he told me, "You're a very soulful actor." And I just took that in and I listened to it. And I was like a kid, so I didn't know, like, but my essence I knew. And I just remember, and I've just been sharing that recently, reflecting back on my career, these nuggets that amazing people have said, like testimonials, right? Like, "You're a very soulful actor." Like,
Yeah.
wow, how cool is that?
It is. And isn't it amazing how the you get a playback as years go by and you remember things that you didn't even know you remembered, but they mean so much more. And all of a sudden, this epiphany happens and you think, oh my, I can't believe it. That's what he
Yeah.
was trying to tell me.
Yeah.
So, and again, he saw it in you early on. Now, you
Yes.
also are a poet, and you always wanted to write a book, and you've got one called A Lover's Fairy Tale. Tell me
Yes.
about that.
Yes, A Lover's Fairy Tale is so near and dear to my heart. It was when I was traveling the world, and I wanted to, I was in Nirvana, I was in ecstasy, I was in all these amazing places, experiencing all these different things because I was out of my traditional circumstances. I was experiencing something anew. And so I jotted down all these poems, and I always wanted to be a published poet, but what happened was during, when the world blew up and, in 2020 and everything, I was like, reflecting because normally I'm a kid in a candy store. Where's one place in the world I've never gone? And boom, I'll just like go. But I pivoted the quality of the question. What's one thing that you've always wanted to do that you haven't done yet? And I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to become a published poet. So for my birthday, I gifted that to myself. And then from that point, I gave myself a 3-month hard stop. And then when I was researching about how to do it, self-publishing and everything like that, I found when I was releasing it was during World Poetry Day. So I released it on World Poetry Day, which is also my parents' anniversary. And I selected, my birthday's 11/11, so I selected 11 pieces of my favorite pieces, all on love. Like my next book is completely different, but this one, all on love. And through literature, growing up, I know, there's introverts, there's people who are scared to get on planes, who never leave their towns. But through literature, you're able to travel and seek and feel the world. So
Right.
this is for those people, and it's also for people like parents and kids, it's for all ages, so they can be in fantasy land and playland. Like I allow myself to go to those places, and
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, oh, like, okay. But then some people are just cut off from that innate fire that I was talking about when they're domesticated, when they're kids, and I never let that fire go out. So this is for those people, to inspire and enrich their own hearts.
Give me a little bit of one of your poems.
Sure. Who would have thunk it? It's driving me crazy, this feeling inside. I can't call you. I'm thinking, feeling you. I don't understand this love. One day everything is so perfect, so precious, so fine, so pure. The next day, we are so infected. Please, please, why has this love poisoned us? Love me not, for I sorrow. Love me not, for it's your soul I would want to die for.
Wow, that's beautiful. Just beautiful. And
Hmm.
you also have an album. You talk about your birthday, 11/11, and it's 11/11. It's Dreamland 11/11, and
Yes.
it's almost from another planet. You know, it's great because you have poetry in there, but at the same time, the music, I guess, connects with part of your psyche that you didn't even know existed.
1000%. And feel free to play it on your show anytime. You have full rights to play it as a gift anytime you want. I grew up in the EDM, electronic dance music scene in Detroit. And as a rebel youngster that you mentioned, when I was a teenager, I was going downtown Detroit to all these parties. So it was before DJs were popular in Western civilization. So all the best DJs internationally would be coming to Detroit and they'd be next to me and I'd be hanging out with them like, yo, what up? And I fell in love with EDM and the sound and the vibrations of sounds, right? And so and I went to DJ music school. It was a big passion of mine. And they didn't have DJ music school when I was a kid. It was all male dominant. And then when I found out about it in 2016, I went to a DJ music school for a year to find out as a passion what kind of DJ I am, because there's so many different kinds of DJs. And so while I was making this music, Dreamland 11/11, I made the beats. And I had no idea, but then that was my second birthday gift. First was A Lover's Fairy Tale, and then since it went so well and it was something that was so internal within my core, my soul, it's just grown with me and it's a part of my hand and my language. And it's not like dismantled from like an exterior trip to Hawaii or something. You know what I mean? And so Dreamland 11/11 embodies that too. So I came out with a debut solo album and I took the music and then I took spoken word poetry because right now I'm exploring divine femininity in all genders and what that means to me, because we're only as strong as our weakest link. And I've always had issues with, I feel like, the divine feminine and trusting other, females and things of that nature. Growing up in society, I look to males for role models, to be angel investors and to invest in me and my brand for humanity and who I stand for and what I am. So I wanted to empower myself as a human being, and then be a voice to empower and pave the way for other people who may feel small with their voice. So I'm exploring these things in the music. And then I also released it on OpenSea as a Web3 artist as NFTs. And 2 of them were bought at Art Basel in December, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the NFTs, because a lot of people don't even know what NFTs are. How would you explain that?
Great. An NFT is a non-fungible token. And so ultimately it's like a JPEG, but now people, like, you could have your podcast, your radio show. I can show you how you can drop them as NFTs, right, on Web3. And then there's video content. And right now I'm in an exhibition with Domance. It's the first, Dome metaverse exhibition with a bunch of NFT artists. But an NFT, a non-fungible token, isn't just a JPEG, like, oh, it's just a JPEG. No, it's actually its own computer, because it goes into the blockchain technology and it's an intelligent system that's going to be there for eternity, right? And so it's really cool because it's decentralized, where it's like if you're an author or if you are an artist and you have your photography or a painting and you're represented by a broker, an art dealer, and it's in a gallery, first you have to go through all the hoops of your sensitivities, of your self-worth, to hope something outside of you validates who you are, to align with your work when there's over 8 billion people in the world. And then you have to have a gallery represent you. And then the work sells, and then they get their 20% commission. And then you get paid like a non-union actor, a one-time fee. But a union actor, you get residual income. So in Web3, and people can do it with video games, sports, your podcast, there's healthcare, there's nonprofits in in the space now. It's not just artists, it's all humans. So what happens is you can take whatever thing you have, even past things that are released or any ideas you have, and you get into the community of Web3 and you apply it to the blockchain. And there's so many different markets. And what you do is there's smart contracts and you can do your own smart contract, but that's advanced. But let's just stick to basics. There's different marketplaces and they all have their own smart contracts. Like I'm curating with Hey Lair, which is a women empowerment platform. It's built on Stacks and it's Bitcoin. Then there's OpenSea, which is Ethereum, which is another currency. And what happens is when you put it up and you label it and you put the description of what that NFT is, then you set the price for someone to purchase it. And I mean, it's already like a whole new world that people are living in, and it's very popular of what's happening. But what happens is in the smart contract, you set the percent. So you, Sunny, can, for example, you're like, let's say you're going to put this podcast as an NFT, right?
Right.
So you're going to put the price that's the collector is going to purchase it for, but they may like me as an actor and they're like, oh, I want to like own the rights. I want to own this like, podcast NFT. And so what I'm doing with my podcast, if it's just me solo, that's just me solo. And I'm donating a percent, that's me, 20% to maybe a mental health place or whatever you're interested in for whatever thing, you can pay it forward to help humanity. And then like, let's say you have a guest on, you can choose to give them 10% or 15%, and then you take the rest for your earnings. Now, the percentages are negotiable. It's whatever you want. You don't have to donate to anything. It's all about who you are as a person, and then you're showing people who you are and what you stand for, right? Like something maybe happened to your partner or to one of your children, and you're really an advocate for this. And so that's how you can connect with other people in Web3 who are building a whole new world, right? To help out humanity and then also pay it forward and then share along with co-creators. So it's a really fun, exciting time. I hope that kind of broke it down in a nutshell.
It is. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the short version of the answer.
Yeah. Oh no.
No.
Yeah.
I love that you're so excited. And one of the things that I really look for in anyone that I meet is their level of enthusiasm. But I believe that a lot of that enthusiasm comes from never letting a part of us grow up. So we have that child with us at all times, and we're constantly looking at the world through those eyes.
Curiosity.
Yes, exactly. Always. Now, you mentioned, your NFTs, and I've seen them. And by the way, if you want to take a look at anything we're talking about, just go to KatieChonacas.com, and we'll have a link.
Just Chonacas.com.
Or just Chonacas.com.
Yeah, that's it.
Or just ch.com. Yeah. But your NFTs, correct me if I'm wrong, but they're Polaroids, aren't they?
So what happened is the first, that Dreamland 1111 is the album cover and then each song. My new drop on Hey Lair, it's HeyLayer.com. And it's cool because they're calling it like 2.5 web. So you don't have to have, if you don't have wallets for cryptocurrencies, people can purchase it with a credit card, which is really cool if they want to be like become a collector and everything. So right. This drop I have for Love Month, they're Polaroids that was, they're super rare because it was by the company Polaroid that discontinued the original Polaroid in 2001.
Yeah.
And it's with my friend who's an international famous photographer, Robert Sturman. And so it's my poetry from my book, A Lover's Fairy Tale. And everyone gets a digital copy of the poetry book, but they have that NFT, which is a utility, which is an unlockable. So it's a gift, but it's the image of the artwork that looks like a painting, but it's from the original Polaroid that I curated with my friend Robert Sturman. So we have that as NFTs and also merch that people can get if they want to pick up the merch for it as well, which is on my website.
I remember back then, and I'm glad that your photographer saved those Polaroids. I remember that technique when people were doing that, and I remember doing that myself to some of my Polaroids. But who knew that, here many, many years later, you'd be able to share them with the world and have them as pieces of art and that somebody could actually own a piece of.
Exactly. And his work's so amazing. I mean, it's like a Van Gogh, like a Starry Night. You just
it is. You're right. That's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
Exactly.
so beautiful. And the thing is about Robert, he's a living artist. He had to reinvent himself, like I was with him like when that happened, when he shared the news. Like he was
Wow.
like a young living artist who had to reinvent himself. He's amazing. I'll introduce
Yeah.
you to him. You should have him on the show. He's great.
Please,
But
please.
I definitely want to tell you, Sonny, what you mentioned about that spirit and the part that never grows up. I can see it in your smile, in your soul, in your eyes. So my spirit connects to your spirit. I see that within you too. We're mere reflections of one another. So it's really
Well,
beautiful.
I believe me, the feeling is mutual. You mentioned that I mean, right now you're at one of your microphones in a booth, and actually where you do a lot of your voiceovers. What might we have heard you on as far as maybe video games, commercials, etc.?
Sure. And I also want to compliment, we're both on the Share SM7B. So
We
tech,
are.
tech, what up? Yeah. Yeah. So I really loved that my team booked me on Minecraft, so that was really cool to be a part of Minecraft. And I played a few characters on that. So that was really, really cute. Nancy Drew, you remember the classic Nancy Drew books?
Yeah.
Well, they wanted to, like, her best friend Georgia, so I played her 12-year-old best friend, but they wanted to make like STEM and science and tech cool for little girls, like my 13-year-old niece and stuff like that. So they made story clues with Nancy Drew with like an all-women team out of Seattle called Her Interactive, and Penny's the CEO. So they booked me on that. So that was a fun project to work on. I work on like VO things and in-house projects, and right now I'm the voice of Wendy's. So I did 3 campaigns with them. So that was really cool.
And you did a movie with Nicolas Cage.
And I did a movie with Nicolas Cage. He's awesome. I love him. He's great. He's awesome. And Werner Herzog's the director, Bad Lieutenant Port Call New Orleans. It was awesome working with them. He's epic.
I have one last question for you before we
Okay.
wrap up. And that is, if you could talk to your 10-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Follow your dreams. Listen to your inner voice. Stay quiet. Be one with yourself, because a lot of times, a lot of people give themselves to other people and they get entangled with other people's emotions and before they discover and find out who they are. So I would tell myself, you're on the right path, and all your dreams are going to come true. And just to be, live in color, live through purity. And just do it. Nike to win. Just do it and show up for yourself. And then when you show up for yourself, you're showing up for other people. So I would
That's
just
wonderful.
keep cheering
That's
her
wonderful.
on. Yeah.
We're on the radio right now, but I can see you, and I can tell my listeners that you literally close your eyes when you go into that almost like Zen state, and you're literally, becoming the person that you need your 10-year-old self to be when you give that advice.
1,000.
That advice is really something that you could give to anyone today as well. All right. So Chonacas.com.
Yeah, like I coach, I do group coaching with people biweekly, monthly. So if people want like a hit of what's happening here and just they want to like absorb and soak in more information, I coach people. I'm here. It's not about the money. It's about the community. It's about holding hands and doing it together. Also, I have like, I'm in a women empowerment series right now for She's All Over the Place podcast. So there's like 73 episodes. People can just hear me ramble, blah, 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 with other cool people and insightful things to educate and add value for their lives and their loved ones. So yeah, I invite you to stay a part of my community and obviously sign up for my newsletter so you can like keep in the scoop of what's happening in my life.
Absolutely. Well, Katie, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to have connected with you. I feel like I've known you for forever, and I look forward to not only, maybe doing some stuff in the future, but also wish you the best of everything there is in life, because you truly are living it to the fullest.
I love you, Sonny. I love you so much. And we've just begun. So yes, I'm just getting chills right now, but let's keep it growing together. That's what it's about. And, when you're in LA or New York, definitely look me up. Okay. And then, what part of Texas are you in?
I'm in San Antonio.
Okay. Oh my God. I went there one time. So you know Eva Longoria?
Yes.
She used to be married to Tony Parker.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So she has evaheroes.org, and she flew me in one time.
You're kidding.
No, I play poker. I love poker. And I was a part
yeah.
You were probably there. Yeah. So yeah.
Small world.
Yeah. So whenever I'm invited back to San Antonio, I definitely will look you up as well.
Very well. All right. Thanks so much.
Mwah, rock and roll. Bye. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We love you.
Well, that is a bundle of energy in the form of Katie Chonacas. You'll find links to her website, Facebook, and more by visiting sunnyradio.com. That's sunnyradio.com. Until next time, I'm Sonny Melendrez, and I leave you with the words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be." Bye-bye.
The